Yo, what is up guys, Gray here, and today we've got our IBL D-League Season 2 draft and analysis. This is the second of the two Wi-Fi leagues we'll be in, along with the PMC, and if you haven't seen the PMC video that went up on the weekend, then I'd advise you go back and watch it. It was a really good battle and solid team building, if I say so myself. But yeah, the IBL requires us to do draft analysis, and I was looking to do it anyway, but I really didn't prepare at all. I have one day to record it, being today, and I didn't get any notes or anything, so this entire video is most likely going to be an absolute train wreck. But it is what it is. We'll go with it, and if it's awful, it's awful. I apologise now. If for whatever reason you do enjoy it though, please do leave a like below. It greatly helps. If you do hate it as much as I think that this video is probably going to get much hate, then yeah, leave a dislike, but try and be constructive with your criticism. I am a new YouTuber, so it's all the kind of help goes a long way. Anyway, I'm stumbling on my words. Let's get into the draft analysis. So as you can see, it's been on the screen for the last however long I've been rambling for. Our first pick was Taku Bulu, and I should probably have prefaced this by saying there was 10 people in the draft, and we were 9th in the draft. So similar to the PMC, we are on the tail end. Not quite the wheel pick, but kind of close to. So I kind of picked my first pick and then be fairly confident that I was going to get my second pick as well. So first up we went with Taku Bulu, and Taku Bulu is something that I have only really mocked with. So I've faced people, or I've mocked full people in other leagues that have had Taku Bulu, and I've really enjoyed using it. It's very diverse. I didn't realise just how diverse it can be. It has great options on both the physical and the special side to hit people with. It does get access to Calm Mind, so that's not a completely impossible set to run. But you're looking at that 130 attack stat, and the fact that Wood Hammer in the grassy terrain is pretty much just a nuke. Along with that, it is one of the best Assault Vest users because of Horn Leech, in my opinion, is possibly the best. It's got great typing and good enough coverage that it actually can hit quite a lot, even stuff that's resisted. Obviously Nature's Madness means that there is no necessary switching to this thing. Like, steel types aren't bad, but a Nature's Madness into Sooth Power probably going to take most things out. But yeah, it's just a very strong wall breaker. Not a bad speed stat, I think it's 75, but it's got very good bulk to make up for that kind of below average speed. And also, what I'm going to draft later in the draft is kind of hopefully going to make up for that kind of low speed. But I had a good idea on what I wanted to pick next. My offensive cores usually revolve around 2 mons to start off with, and then I'll get some bulk afterwards, and then I'll patch up any gaps at the end. However, I decided this time I was kind of going to do something a little bit different, and I was going to go for kind of patching the holes before I've even drafted my bulk, if that makes any sense. And as you're going to see as the draft goes along, probably not the best idea, but I was using this and PMC just to kind of draft slightly differently to how I normally draft, because the PTL I 100% have drafted exactly how I would normally draft. Got my offense and my bulk, and then any utility or patches that I needed filling afterwards. But yeah, my second pick was Victini, and if anyone saw my PTL Season 1, I doubt you would have, because I didn't upload it. A whole load of issues happened whilst I was playing through the PTL, but this thing was our kill leader, and if I'd used it better, I think earlier in the season, had I been a bit braver and clicked certain moves as and when I did, like when I could have, it could have been the MVP for the season. I think it finished 5th overall. But Victini is an absolute monster, and I think very underappreciated. Like, I've seen so many people say Victini is trash, it's only like good with a scarf or with a band, but they have clearly not used Victini properly. Victini is absolutely fantastic. It's my Z user as well, so Z Sunny Day is always a thing, and that is absolutely terrifying. Nothing is living a blue flare on the special side or a V-Create in the sun. If they do, then they're probably going to die to either a Bolt Strike or a Solar Beam. Like, this thing just gets absolutely insane coverage. It gets Dazzling Gleam, Focus Blast, Glaciate, you name it, it pretty much gets it. Like, half the time you don't even have to run the Psychic Stab because you just have another coverage move that does better against an enemy team. And honestly, with Taku Bulu, Victini was just a fantastic partner. Means that hopefully they won't be running Earthquake as much, and if they do, then in a grassy terrain, Victini takes like nothing from an Earthquake because it's base hundreds across the board. I can run it like Specs, Banded, Life Orb, I can run it with the Z, I can run Z Setup, I can run so many different sets. It's just a fantastic mon. It's kind of like a Swiss Army knife of attacking. Like, Mew is the overall Swiss Army knife, it can do whatever you want it to be. But Victini, if you need something just to punch a hole through an enemy team, there is no better mon in the game, in my opinion, than Victini. But yeah, Bulu Victini is an absolutely terrifying offensive core to go up against. And I was looking at it, I was like, you know what? I want to have strong psychic fighting dark core with really good offense. Bulu is kind of there. It can be like offensive or it can be a bulkier set. It can use it as kind of like a pivot if I want to. I can also use it as like just a wall breaker, and then other things can come in. But something that works really nicely with Holucha, yep, that gave away my next pick, with Bulu is Holucha. And yeah, Holucha with the Grassy Seed means that it gets +1 in defense. It's not the only set it can be run, so a lot of people will think that I have to run it with Grassy Seed to get the Unburden boost, but I can run it with a Power Herb if I want to. I can run it with Focus Sash maybe if I really was like that desperate. I guess it's a very limited mon in what it can do, but it's very good at what it does. So most of the time it's probably going to be High Jump Kick, Acrobatics, whatever third move, maybe Roost or not. Don't know, I guess Knockoff actually, but it'll be another move there, and then Sword Stance, and that's kind of all you need on Holucha, and you can pretty much just sweep entire teams. Fighting and flying coverage is just such a good offensive typing that, especially with like Victini and Bulu, that there is no switch-ins to my team at this point. There are just no switch-ins. However, I did notice that I was kind of becoming a bit weak to rocks. I was certainly not enjoying like an ice-water type, especially if it was faster than me somehow. I don't really know. I don't think anything that is ice-water is actually quicker than anything on my team, but still, like, a strong water type with an ice type coverage move will pretty much just destroy my team. And I don't necessarily fix up the ice issue that I have, but with my next pick I do pick up a Hydreigon, and that completes my psychic fighting dark core. And as well as that, it kind of gives me a second core. I'm like almost complete on my other cores as well, but Hydreigon is just so good. Fantastic kind of late game sweeper if needs be. It's also extremely bulky. I think people really sleep on a bulky Hydreigon set, but certainly it can do a lot of work. Great taunt user, great stall breaker in because it has taunt. Great stabs, great coverage. Again, like, can be physical, can be special. I've run both. Unfortunately, it's not my Zmon, so we won't be seeing any Flying EMZ or Poison EMZ coverage moves for random things like we did in the PPL. Again, I didn't upload that. It all started when I was homeless. So yeah, again, I can talk about PTL and PPL and nobody will know what I'm talking about unless you were involved in those leagues. So yeah, Hydreigon is a fantastic mon. Gives me a just out and out special attacker as well, which I didn't really have. Victini can be run both ways, and I do prefer special. Like, for the most part, I probably will run it special, but at the same time, Hydreigon just gives me a special wall breaker, something that can be scarfed and still special, whilst allowing Victini to still be running a Z. So it just kind of, as well as that, it's a defogger. Like, I completely forgot that defog is one of its best sets because of its defensive typing. Only being weak to Fairy as well. Only being weak to Fairy, but 4 times weak to Fairy that doesn't have a hidden power, and not every mon will have a Fairy coverage move, means that Hydreigon is a great defensive typing, and I'm kind of just... I really should have done notes, because I can tell I am just rambling on about shit with no direction at all. But anyway, before I ramble too much, let's get on to the next one, and that is Togekiss. And Togekiss, in hindsight, potentially wasn't the best pickup for me. I think all the fairy types that I was looking at the time had gone, forgetting that Taku Bulu was actually a fairy type. So, when I drafted this, I was like, oh, well, I need a fairy type, and like Clefable, Sylveon, I try to think of what else there is, Mega Gardevoir, things like that had all gone. And so I was there like, oh, well, Togekiss is pretty good. It's another Defogger, I need the hazard removal. It's a Cleric. It's annoying as fuck with Serene Grace, Air Slash, Thunderwave shenanigans. And a great choice Scarfer, again, because of Serene Grace, Air Slash getting like 60% chance to flinch, something along those lines. Don't question my maths. Actually do question my maths because it's terrible. But yeah, Togekiss in the end actually kind of doesn't serve too much of a purpose on my team. It's just kind of there. It's a good specially Pokemon, like it can be run specially defensive, a good defensive typing in Fairy Flying, but at the same time, looking back at it, this thing may just get traded away at some point because it doesn't really fill a necessary role on my team outside of a Cleric, and I could find a Cleric with a different typing. So yeah, Togekiss is there. Next up, I picked up Silvally, my third Defogger in a row. I was aware that because I picked up Togekiss, I was probably going to be lacking in a couple of types at the end of the draft, and Silvally is just something that it is the ultimate like patching up holes. So like I said, usually I will draft bulk and offensive mons and patch up holes. Silvally kind of just patches every hole other than like a hazard setter. It can be any type, it has great coverage moves on the physical and special side. Parting Shot is really nice. Like I mentioned earlier, it gets defog as well. So Silvally is just kind of there to give me every type in the game, and I can kind of, if I want to run like a bulky fighting type or something, it's just as an example, Hawlucha is never going to fill that role, but Silvally can. So yeah, Silvally could be really nice this season. It's one of those mons that I can see myself just bringing every week because I really like a certain type against a certain team. But we'll see. Silvally is there. It's a fantastic defogger and Parting Shot as well. I wish I could run this as a Z-mon because Z Parting Shot is actually really nice. But unfortunately I would only be able to run it Z with normal, so that kind of made it pointless. But next up we have got Piloswine, and Piloswine was a fantastic budget pick. It was in like the lowest tier, I think, or the second lowest tier. It was worth 20 points in a draft that you have 1,000 points to begin with. And Piloswine is extremely underrated. I think it's starting to become a bit more like of a well-known threat or well-known Pokemon in the format, but it just fills every role that, like, if you need something bulky, just it has an Eviolite, so it's already bulky, and then you can have it be offensive. You can run it Adamant max attack and it still be bulky and be offensive and be a great stealth rocker as well. Great priority in Ice Shard, great dual stabs, like some of the best dual stab coverage in the game, as well as having access to moves like Roar, obviously Toxic, and yeah, Stealth Rocks like I mentioned earlier. So Piloswine was there as a great budget pick. Again, in hindsight, my team is very weak to rocks. So Piloswine being neutral to it as my ground type is potentially not the best. I may have to patch that up later. But certainly I am not mad at all to have Piloswine. Piloswine is one of those mons that I've used to great effect in the past. I believe I've got a video that's actually up on my channel. Finally something that's actually like there for you to view, where after a DC, I swept Austin with just Piloswine. And yeah, so it's a threat, it's a great Pokemon, and it's Stealth Rocks that I absolutely desperately needed. Just realised this is my first Stealth Rocker. I did have plans for other rocks, like my Mega that I was saving to last also has Stealth Rocks, and I was fairly sure at this point, like 99.9% sure that it was going to last until the last round and I could just pick it up at the end. which meant I could pick up things like Piloswine, some more budget picks earlier on in the draft. And talking budget picks, next up we had Heliolisk, and Heliolisk really gave me the speed tier that I desperately needed on this team. Lucha being there at 118 and Victini at 100 left a big gap in between, and really I needed something to fill that, so people couldn't just run like a base 115 one. I guess 115 is bad fuck me, I'm forgetting the word. It's a bad example, because if you run that modest, it speed ties base hundreds as far as I'm aware. I think it maxed out at 167. So anything that's faster, like Whimsicott upwards, basically, they could run modest, and I didn't want to do that. I didn't want to have that happen. People may just be like, oh, well, Holucha is going to have a burden, so I don't have to run anything with a Jolly Nature, because I'm not going to outspeed Holucha with the Unburden boost, so I'm going to outspeed Victini, and yeah, like, that wouldn't be great at all. So that's why I picked up Heliolisk, and I picked up something else, I think is my next pick, to check that in the same way, so people still had to run Jolly with faster mons or timid. But Heliolisk also gave me two types that I did need on my team. You could say that Silverlee is a normal type, but let's be honest, Silverlee is going to be every type probably but normal type, because it just feels like every other gap that I need in the team. So Heliolisk is there. It's got a very nice, it's a very useful Pokemon to have, especially if you come up against weather. It has the Sandstream, Sandveil, which I probably won't use. I think it might actually be banned. But Dry Skin and Water Absorb. Dry Skin and Water Absorb. Solar Power. Dry Skin is effectively Water Absorb. Oh man, I should probably have done my research. But Solar Power as well. So if for whatever reason I run, well, actually I do run Z Sunny Day occasionally on Victini, and that means that I can actually run Heliolisk with Solar Power and potentially come in and do a ton of damage with like a Specs Solar Power set. Not to mention it gets access to both Volt Switch and U-Turn, which makes it a very viable Pokemon to bring. Even against good ground types, it can just U-Turn out, because it's most of the time going to be quicker than a ground type as well. So Heliolisk gives me also great coverage. It gets Surf, Grass Knot, Focus Blast, Dark Pulse, as well as Hyper Voice, Thunderbolt, Volt Switch, U-Turn like I mentioned. Most of the time we'll be running a special, not physical, but at the same time my team is kind of more physically biased on the offensive side. So I wasn't too worried about picking up another special threat, and Heliolisk with its great speed and the two typings that I needed really kind of fit the bill, because I was looking at Jolteon before. I think it went before I could get to it, but Heliolisk was slightly cheaper if I remember rightly, and it gave me the normal typing that I wanted as well. Next up we had Aerodactyl, and as you can see that's my third flying type on the team, and I picked up mainly for rocks and for a base 130 speed tier, as well as a really good Z user. So I only had 40 points. If I wanted to pick up my last two mons, I only had 40 points to spend, and it was between Aerodactyl and Regirock. And Regirock did not give me the speed, but it did give me some nice bulk and not another flying type, which is kind of crucial, especially with such a big rocks weakness that I've got on this team. It does give me another defogger, and it gives me my own rocks, so I currently have 4 defoggers as well as another one potentially coming up. So I've got plenty of hazard removal. I am very hazard weak. So Aerodactyl, though, however, is a fantastic Zmon, like I said earlier, especially for 40 points. Like, its ability to be able to run like a Home Claw set and then just hit something hard with a Z Fly or a Z Stone Edge, gets great coverage with Aqua Tail and Crunch, Fire Fang. I believe it gets Ice Fang and Thunder Fang as well. So many moves that it can run, especially with that Z. It makes it very threatening and very difficult to predict. So yeah, Aerodactyl was there for that 130 speed and for my Zmon, like I said. Tentacruel was up next, and Tentacruel, I wanted something that worked really nicely with my last one, with my Mega, and apart from a ground weakness, because as you can see I've got no Steel type as it stands, you might be able to tell what my last pick is just because of that, but I have no Steel type at the moment but it shares a ground weakness. However, I was very aware that I had Bulu and I had 3 flying types, so ground weaknesses were not necessarily too much of an issue for me, albeit I do have like 4 mons weak to it. Having Bulu firstly by itself is great because that gives me one way of dealing with ground types. They may not even bring Earthquake because of Bulu. And secondly, having 3 flying types and a levitator. We have 3 flying types and a levitate mon, so ground types are completely pointless against my team. For the most part, at least. Like, they're fantastic against me and they're terrible. But anyway, I'm going on a tangent here. Tentacruel is a fantastic toxic spiker and a rapid spinner. I'm losing my ability to speak, my god. As well as having that base 100 speed. Again, it's got really nice coverage in Giga Drain, Dazzling Gleam, Clear Smog, Scald, Ice Beam, trying to think off the top of my head, Sludge Bomb, Sludge Wave. That's obviously not coverage, it's just stabs. But yeah, also it gets access to things like Haze, and I believe it gets Reflect, it definitely gets Barrier. So it can be run in multiple different ways, so I need a good check to something. Tentacruel might be fantastic. It does have a very good special defense stat as well as that base 100 speed, which is fantastic for a rapid spinner, as well as a bulkier mon. But lastly, we pick up our Mega, and that is Mega Aggron. I actually caused quite some controversy with my last 2 picks, and I think regardless, I probably would have got Tentacruel anyway. I don't think anyone was looking to pick it up. But because I knew I was picking up Mega Aggron, I actually overspent with Tentacruel, and I had to let Brendan know that I was going to be picking up Mega Aggron, so it's not in the world. My backup was Mega Steelix, just in case there was any issue with that. And yeah, Mega Aggron is a fantastically bulky mon. Stealth Rocks, Curse, Rest, it gets Dragon Tail, Roar, Heavy Slam does so much damage to so many things, Earthquake, Thunder Fang, I believe it gets, well, it definitely gets Stone Edge. I think it gets Zen Headbutt, but I could be wrong on that. But it gets a ton of moves. It can be Autotomize or Rock Polish and be like a late game sweeper, even though it's super slow, it can still outspeed things. It's just such a great mon, and this really is the only reason why Togekiss is any good on my team. It's because it can work as a great Wish Passer. These two have great synergy. Tentacruel again, like Tentacruel, Hydreigon, Togekiss, Mega Aggron have fantastic synergy, especially it's like a UU core. So for me, this was definitely worth the excuse me, definitely worth picking up, especially for like giving me an extra 40 points. Like that was super helpful. Gave me a little bit more to spend on my team. And yeah, Mega Aggron has always been one of those mons that I really enjoy using, and has always worked out really nicely for me. Again, it's one of those mons that I used in mocks, but I also used it whilst I briefly helped somebody else in D2 of the PTL. I played like 5 games for him, and Mega Aggron was always really critical in those games, really did a lot of work. And so I felt like I really wanted to draft it, especially after having Mega Steelix in PTL last season, and seeing just how good it was. Mega Aggron is not too much different to that thing, except for it just loses a weakness, basically, in water types. So, yeah, that's the team. I know I got a whole load of slack for a bunch of things with my team. I don't think many people liked my team at all. I think that's mainly because I'm so weak to rocks, and I might have to patch that weakness up at a later date. But I'm pretty excited to use it. It's probably one of the more offensive drafts I've ever drafted, but that's probably because the budget was really lenient. It gave you like tons of value, and as you can see, like Piloswine, Piloswine and Aerodactyl are my only 2 really budget picks, and even those 2 in other leagues are like, I know Piloswine is generating like tier 5, or it's in that like 5 to 6 point range, but Aerodactyl has been moving up recently. It's been like tier 3 in quite a few leagues. For that to be like 40 points is absolutely wild. It's great value, and it was something I just couldn't turn down. But yeah, this is my draft. I hope you all like it as much as I do. I'm really excited, mainly just to use Bulu Victini Holucha. I got a Gross Dragon Steel Fairy Core as well, which I'm super excited to use. So our week 1 is against Sork, somebody we were with in the PCL, but we never actually ended up playing him because unfortunately uploads were not exactly going up on time in that league from me. So we did actually get kicked from that league after week 3 or 4, I want to say, and we didn't face each other at that point. So I'm excited to face Sork because he seems like a really good battler. His team is very, very scary. He's definitely abused the draft, the point system, 100%. And yeah, we'll see how we do. Team Builder will be up on Sunday, I want to say, and the upload will be on Monday. That's just because I don't want PMC battles and the IBL battles and the PTL. I think, in fact, all 3 of them would be Saturday Team Builder, Sunday battle upload. And I want to kind of have some variation, and in the IBL you can actually decide whether you want to upload on the Sunday or the Monday. So I'm going to most likely be uploading on the Team Builder Sunday, battles on the Monday. But we'll see. If I get them done earlier, I might just post everything on the Saturday in terms of Team Builders and everything on the Sunday in terms of battles. But without going on too much, I will see you guys hopefully in the Team Builder. And yeah, fingers crossed we do well in the IBL D-League and we might get promoted up to the IBL Majors. You never know. But I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.